Okay, we're going to cover the most important topic and the reason for my book. And that is, how do you question your government, how it's assembled, how it functions, the things that it does. How do you do that? And do you have the authority to do it? Has anybody heard of the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States? What all that freedom of the press and the right to petition your government for redress of your grievances and all that? Do you really understand what that means? And you have to understand too, in the context, that the amendments, the Constitution only is about the states and how the states interact with each other and how the states act together as the union. Okay, so when we get into all these things about freedom of the press and freedom of speech and the right to petition your government for redress of your grievances, that goes straight to the government itself, how it's assembled, how it functions, whether or not, whatever your beef is, you don't stand in the street and protest what your government is doing. You have the right to call out the government in the press, everything about how they're doing things. So this leads you to the question of, is the two-party system a democracy, a republic, or neither, either? And how do you determine whether it is or not? And what's the responsibility of those who are assembling and operating the government to demonstrate that they actually are assembling the government and operating the government the way it is ordained and established by the Constitution of the United States. Basically, Articles 1, 2, and 3 of the Constitution of the United States, unamended. Because if you don't assemble and operate the government properly, you can't amend the Constitution, period. And whether people realize it or not, the assembly, distribution of power through rights of suffrage, the legislative process, and how the states reach a majority consensus for assent to any measure for any purpose, foreign or domestic, is specified unalterably by the Constitution of the United States. First three, actually. So why is that unalterable? Well, it gets back to the union being a democracy. Okay, so when you ask that question, is it a democracy or is it not? It's definitely a democracy. Okay, and Article 4, Section 4 guarantees every state in the union a republican form of government. So we have to ask the question further, is a democracy a republican form of government? And the answer to that too is yes, when that confederation of the states are republics themselves, either simple or compound republics themselves. And even if it was just a unicameral legislature of the Senate, like Article 2 and 3 are controlled by then yes, it's still a Republican form of government because it's a confederation of republics. You don't have the House. It's not a confederated republic. But it's a confederation. A confederated republic has to be assembled in a bicameral legislature, and the most numerous branch must be an exact representation of the people of each state, and therefore an exact representation of all the people in the country. Okay, and the Senate has to be that democracy, which is in place for concurrence. It also forms a iterative legislative process, which is balanced, a balanced decision-making process. Whereas a democracy alone favors the small states over the large states. The large states are the minority, and a simple republic without a Senate favors the large states over the small states. But the reality is that it's not nationalism. A simple republic without a Senate is not nationalism. If it can't be an assembly of districts, it would have to be each representative in there has to be independent for every district. No matter how many representatives per district they get, they can't vote together as a district. Whereas in a compound republic, the districts are like the states, and yes, they can vote together as a single district, but there's a Senate for balance and for concurrence. So you have one, which is an assembly of the people. They are the ones who identify and rank choices, do the cost-benefit analysis, and make the choice that they want for the scope and cost, but that has to be concurred with by the states in their collective capacity. So the House is the people in their collective capacity, and the Senate is the states in their collective capacity. And that balances everything because you have two competing assemblies, one that is a democracy, one that is a republic. One, the large states control the majority consensus, and in the other one, the more numerous small states control the majority consensus. Whereas in today, 9 states can pass any bill out of the House. But when they pass it out of the House and transmit it to the Senate, there are 41 smaller states that can reject those matters and return them to the House along with amendments to advise the larger states what would be necessary for their concurrence. Okay? But what I'm trying to get at here is our two-party system actually a democracy or a republic? No. And how are you supposed to first identify that they're not, and then go about fixing it? And that's the part of our government that's been disabled. That part where the government can police itself. And that's what we have to restore so that we can restore the government to the functional collective governing system that it's supposed to be. Thank you.